the places nobody goes. I wanna teach all the things that nobody knows. I wanna grow wings, leave the coop, learn to fly. Bungee jump from the tallest building in Dubai. I wanna fly around town in my UFO. I wanna eat real food, not the GMOs. I wanna make moves, call the shots like the boss. I wanna love like I never lost.
Welcome back to Desertwood Days. Our next guest, he's a friend of the show, guest from season 2. Let's welcome producer, director, Adam Goldfine. Hello there.
Hello. Good to see you.
Good to see you again.
Thanks for having me back.
Such a pleasure.
Absolutely.
So, Adam.
Yeah.
It's been a year.
Really? Oh, wow. I was thinking it was like 3 or 4 months ago. Really?
Time flies.
It really
We're having
does.
fun.
I've been having fun.
So, what have you been up to lately since we saw you last? What's going on out there in the photography world with you?
Yeah, a lot. Well, things have changed a lot. The virtual world of production has started to subside a bit as things have come back after COVID, and people are now turned back to a lot more traditional production. There's still quite a bit of virtual production going on. So, once again, we've shifted gears to adjust to the changing climate. So we're making some significant changes in the studio to keep up with the times.
Right, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, when you're talking about studio and productions,
Yeah.
are you predominantly doing filmmaking?
I'm doing a number of different things. So one of the things we're doing is we're actually, so we had sort of editing, color grading, and the actual production stage all combined into one thing. And so what we're doing is we're building out a new dedicated editing and color grading suite. So everything that has to do with all of that is going to move into that realm. And then we're going to have a much larger, clear space for production. So we've added sound production. So literally a 32-channel studio recording system. I have a partner who's a longtime engineer, very experienced, made dozens of albums and television shows and whatnot. And we've added a very sophisticated, basically sound studio to our arsenal of tools. So
wonderful, wonderful. And the name of your studio is a DNA?
DNA Studio. DNA Cinema Services.
DNA Cinema Services.
Yeah.
So who would, just for our audience to know, who would come to DNA's Cinema Services?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So a number of different things. So on the audio side, really, we've done podcasts. We actually did like an 8-person podcast not too long ago. Individuals doing voiceovers, and really, and we're still kind of working out the setup for this aspect of it. Bands looking to record demos or an album. Or even bands that do covers, that are looking to have a sort of demo tape for local bookings.
Okay.
So.
Well, it sounds like it's a pretty big studio. What is your footage on your studio?
There's a lot crammed into it, so it's about 1,000 square feet.
Okay.
So.
Well, you guys have a lot going on.
Yeah, it's about 30 feet by 35 feet. So we have a green screen, we have different backdrops, we have acoustic treatment.
So it's easy to change up and transfer the looks.
It is.
Okay.
We have a couple of drum sets, we have guitars, we have a baby grand piano, lots of microphones, and the ability to record it all.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So there was a change during the time with COVID. So how is it stepping back into the real world of production? I call it the real world because virtual is still the real world, but
one of the biggest differences between virtual production and traditional production is you got to wear pants for traditional production.
Yes,
you can't.
Please do.
Yeah. Virtual production was all waist up, right? You're on a Zoom camera or some other platforms that we use, and people can't really see what's going on. So you can kind of roll out of bed, put on a shirt, walk into the studio, and you don't have to worry about the rest. So, it's definitely more work doing virtual production, but it's also, I think, a lot more satisfying in a lot of ways.
Being in front of the individuals.
Yeah, working with people, you have a lot more control. I mean, there's a certain element of difficulty, I think, doing virtual production where you have people who are doing the presentation, setting up the camera, setting up the lights, setting up the microphone. They may not be technically savvy, and so you kind of have to walk them through things. And there's sometimes you just have, it becomes such a challenge to get things just so that you would take the time to do in traditional production that you go, you know what, this is good for what we're doing, and you just kind of roll with it.
Do you still have people asking for virtual?
Oh, yeah. I'm doing, actually, next week I'm doing another virtual production for a pretty major client.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, there's still quite a bit of that around. I mean,
So doing a virtual production, I just want to see how this goes.
yeah,
So, is it just like, say you have a band?
yeah.
So what is it that you're doing on your end for the virtual production?
We haven't done any band virtual productions. We've done like commercials,
Okay.
internal presentations, things like that. And you're definitely limited in what you can do. So, it's particularly if you have a presenter who doesn't have a lot of technical experience, you're pretty much going to set them up at a
Oh,
desk or at a table or something like that. And it can range
okay.
from everything from they're going to use their internal laptop camera to we'll send them actually a kit, not unlike what you were using in the studio now,
Oh,
with a
okay.
camera, microphone, lighting, and we walk them through it. So you might take
Oh,
an
okay.
hour before you start to
Just
just
for
kind
the
of,
setup and everything. Okay.
and a lot of times what we'll do is we'll do that setup, a couple of days ahead of time. This way they're not dealing with all the technical and any frustrations and any
Mm.
difficulties. And then like, okay, now let me relax and do my best in a
That's
presentation.
really a cool service,
It's a
though.
pretty cool service.
Yes,
Yeah.
because I was talking with actor friend, and a lot of people still have that issue with doing self tapes and
Yeah.
virtual type things like that. I mean, it just causes frustration. I mean, you're stressed out before you even get on camera because you're trying to set up everything.
Exactly.
So that's a
Exactly.
great service to offer.
And we try to make it fun. I mean, we've developed a lot of techniques and strategies and ways of working with people to put them at ease and make it
Right.
as interesting and fun and entertaining for them as possible, so that
Right.
by the time we do get them on camera, they're in a good state of mind to be able to perform at their best.
Right. So are you guys provide, when you say you have a green screen and production and live production,
Yeah.
so are you guys doing a virtual backdrop or something for them if they're doing a specific
We
type?
can.
Oh, okay.
We can. We've kind of gone back and forth with that. What we found is when people are doing the virtual production from their location and they don't really have the means to do a great virtual backdrop,
It looks kind of grainy.
it doesn't, it's hard to get it really technically,
Right.
sophisticated. So we just have them kind of clean up their background, make sure, we might spend a couple of days ahead of time and go, oh, walk us around your house with your laptop, and we kind of look around and see what time of day works best, what the best location is in terms of where the
Right.
windows are and
Like
which way
we don't
we're
want to be
facing.
by that closet over there.
You don't want to be out of the closet. You don't want to see all the laundry in the
Right.
corner. I mean, we've definitely seen some things.
I'm sure. I've been on virtual auditions. I mean, rehearsals, and
Yeah.
it's like the instructor have to say, "Can you not have all that stuff in the background? It's distracting."
It's a different animal, and there's,
Yeah.
you got to really sort of think through your process to make it work. But we've done, we were extremely busy with it at the height of the pandemic.
Yes, I'm
Um,
sure you were.
We were sometimes working
Because
24.
people didn't know what to do or how they were going to deal with that.
Exactly. And we were one of the companies that sort of pioneered the techniques and the processes. So, there was a huge demand for
I
that.
love that. That got me excited. I mean, because I've been
Yeah.
doing so many self tapes lately, and
Yeah.
I know how much. I mean, in my little realm of what I'm doing, how much work it times to put things together and be prepared for
Yes.
it. So to have someone to help you do something that's bigger than what I'm doing, that's awesome.
Yep. Yep. And we had a pretty big team. We did, Ashton, who's here, was part of our team last year for a big project that we did. And,
Okay.
it's, it really has made a difference. So, when the pandemic first hit, I think a lot of people just said, oh no,
Right.
what are we going to do? And,
Right.
it was really a blessing to be able to figure
Were
it
you
out.
guys one of those people that said that and had to go back to the table and see how you were going to get through that?
We did. I mean, we hadn't, when the pandemic first hit, we hadn't even imagined that there could be a demand or a world of virtual production. Nobody really did.
Right.
And as we started looking into it and experimenting with it, and we tried a lot of things before we, started to roll it out, we discovered, it could really work. That was the first thing. And then we started presenting it to different companies. It took a little while to get traction, but once they really saw that they could preserve some of their intentions, even in the midst of this pandemic, it just took off like vertically. I mean, it
That's
was really
wonderful.
incredible.
And I can see it taking off because,
Yeah.
again, like I said, people were really afraid that, a lot of people lost their jobs or their businesses
Yeah.
during that time. But to be able to preserve your business with the help DNA cinema services, to
Yeah.
be able to help them and show them the way how to do it, that's awesome.
It also put us into a different category in terms of who our clients are. So we went from doing a lot of local stuff, some bigger stuff, to doing some of the biggest Fortune 500 companies in the world.
Wow, congratulations.
And extending our reach. So we have
Right.
clients, all over the world.
Right.
It didn't matter if the client was in
Mhm.
Japan
Oh, no.
or Germany or Ireland or
That is
anywhere.
awesome.
Of course, it meant a lot of odd times, right? So it'd be
Right,
like, okay, our
right.
call time is going to be 2 a.m. We'll start shooting at 4:30. Okay.
Well, you should have been used to that because working on film sets, so.
Yeah, it would get, I mean, we literally would work. There were a couple of times where I would start a production in the morning, wrap it by the end of the day, start another one a couple hours in the evening, wrap that the next morning, and then start another one the next morning. So literally doing 36-hour days,
Wow.
just because the demand was so huge for it.
Yes.
So
We were talking about, I had mentioned that I had did a virtual play once,
yeah,
and just some of the technical issues that we had there, human issues, I mean, because people weren't comfortable. Even the people that were hosting the theatrical play, because all that technology stuff was new to them also,
yeah.
not doing a virtual play. Have you done any creative type things like that, content that you would have had to?
Yeah, so a couple things. So one of the first things that we did was we did a patient documentary for patients with Parkinson's disease.
Oh,
We did a
okay.
6-part series. And, there's kind of a range of how you can approach virtual production. The simplest thing is you get on a Zoom call and you hit the record button, and you have what you have. The most sophisticated end of it is you'll send out a camera and you'll have them record locally to that camera with your guidance. And we figured out ways to be able to monitor what's going on and literally look through the lens, even though the camera might be 1,000 miles away,
Right.
and then retrieve those cards afterwards. And you're literally getting 4K digital cinema footage that way. And then there's everything in between, from using iPhones, using a software called OpenReel, another one called Riverside.
Okay.
And these are all various forms of where you can record locally and then pull the files off.
Okay.
There's a company called Frame.io, which has developed some virtual workflows where, again, you can use very sophisticated cameras like an Arri and be able to pull the footage right off the camera virtually while you're shooting and be able to start editing it. So we did this patient documentary. It was a 6-part series. We interviewed patients all around the United States, and were able to put together, this documentary series.
Wow.
Another project that we've been working on, this was sort of our first testing ground for developing some of the technology that we're using for virtual productions. We're developing a reality show about the world of high-end audio. Now,
Okay.
high-end audio is a very rarefied world. It's something, like I could name 50 brands and be like, I never heard of any of those. People spend tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars trying to achieve the most incredible sound reproduction. I'm just talking about music, like listening to music in your home. Simple 2-channel systems where you have speakers that can cost $500,000, $1 million. I mean, it's really nuts. So
That is nuts.
It's nuts, and it's very cool, and it's just a very interesting world. So we started developing the show, and then the pandemic hit, and we said, let's try to figure out how we can shoot this virtually. So we did. And we used a lot of different techniques. We were able to record, there's a musician in Australia named Fiona Joy. We were able to record a piano recital, which came out amazingly well, completely virtually. Interviews, presentations, narration, the whole thing. We did it all. And we produced basically a 25-minute long pilot. It's 22 minutes, but when it's all edited, virtually. And then the pandemic ended, and we said, that was really great. We learned a lot. We developed some really great technology. Now let's go out and shoot it for real, and that's what we're working on now. So we've gone back to doing a traditional production because we can do a lot more sophisticated things. We can go places, capture things we weren't able to do. So we've been to Colorado. We've shot a couple of people here, a couple people in California, and we're getting ready to roll out that pilot here pretty soon. And with any luck, you'll see it on one of your major streaming services before too long.
That is awesome. But you know what? We have to be prepared for things like that if time comes again when we have to move back to a virtual world.
In the news right now, they're talking about time to mask up again. There's new variants. Emergency rooms are starting to fill up again. So, we may be in for another cycle. Who knows?
And not only that, I mean, I think back before the pandemic, there was a time when businesses were starting to use the shared cubicles and things like that, shared space, and people were working
Yeah.
more from home. So we were starting to do that virtual world.
Yes.
Yes, and then once the pandemic hit, then we had to fully go into
I had to
that.
figure it out. Yeah.
Right. So there was the people that oh no, we're going to come to the office because I don't want to mess with that and be involved. Just look at my computer stopped working.
Yeah.
IT is here.
Yep.
So those are the people that had the hardest time, and they needed a service like yours.
Yeah.
So how would one find you? I mean, you're this company here in Arizona.
Right.
How did you guys get the word out, and how did people know these companies out in Asia or wherever across the waters that you guys were working with?
I made a lot of phone calls. Most people don't like cold calling. I don't mind it, actually. I like talking to people. I don't mind people saying no. And most people are if you have something that's really of value and you can present it in such a way that they can quickly and efficiently, without wasting their time, see the value of hearing more, then you're going to get a lot of yeses. So, we got in a lot of doors very quickly, doors that we would not, because there's so many other people that were doing the same thing we were doing prior to the pandemic. They're like, okay, you guys are great, but we've got 10 other companies that are great too, and they do the same thing. We had something different, we had something innovative, and we had something needed. So that just kind of lucked out for us, and it got us in a lot of doors of, like I said, major Fortune 500 companies. And, a lot of cold calls, a lot of following down leads and contacts, and using my network of people. And this person told this person told this person. And the next thing you know.
That is so awesome to hear. I mean, people are having a hard time to hear something good coming out of during that time.
Yeah.
To see that your company was still flourishing and you were able to take another turn and develop something new to keep your business afloat.
Yeah.
So that was really awesome. So now that we're going back into real production, are there any new things that you guys have added, or any new processes, or anything that you're going to be doing differently this time?
The big news, as we were talking about before, is the recording studio. So we literally do have like a full-fledged recording studio now, which is a completely new element to what we did before. I mean, we could record a couple of microphones or a voiceover before with no problem, but to be able to fully record a band or a large cast podcast, we have really good microphones from Earthworks and Sennheiser and Shure, and we've really invested the time and the money to try to put together a top-notch system. And my partner's name is Vittorio Zamorano. Really good, really talented, very experienced engineer / producer. So, we have the infrastructure, we have the tools, and we have the experience to be able to do that. We bought a Pearl Masters maple gum drum set, which is I've played the drums since I was 8 years old. My daughter Hallie, who's sitting over here, we're actually just coming from her. She's 9 years old, been taking drum lessons for about a year and a half. I listen to a lot of drums. There's a lot of good drum companies. I think I bought my first drum set in 1971, 1972, something like that. I still have some of my vintage drums, which is now appreciated in value.
Right.
I went on a search for, that sound that would be, amazing. And I heard this Pearl Masters maple gum set, and I was like, that's the one. I have to have it. And so we bought one of those, waited a year to get it, had it custom made. Really outfitted it with a wide range of different cymbals and hardware. And it's, Vittorio walked into the studio the first day it was set up, and I was playing, and he goes, that sounds amazing.
Wow,
and for him to say that was pretty,
So speaking about your studios and all that you have going on, where are you guys located?
We are in North Phoenix in Desert Hills. So like near I-17 and Carefree Highway. We're a little bit north of there and a little bit east of there. So kind of between Carefree and Anthem.
Pretty centralized.
On the northern end. I mean,
on the northern end, but going once you get past a certain amount of traffic, I mean, it's easy to get there.
It's easy to get there. It's very quiet where we are. We're on a couple of acres. Our neighbors are far apart.
That's a good thing.
Everybody cooperates. Nobody
Especially
bothers
when you
each
get
other.
to play that beautiful new drum set of yours.
Exactly. Drums are loud. And we have chickens. We have a really nice chicken coop that we built.
Sounds nice.
And so, visitors, if they come at the right time, they'll leave with a dozen fresh eggs too.
Oh my goodness. Well, that was good for you during the pandemic. You had plenty of eggs, huh?
Yeah.
Because you know what? Chickens have gotten stingy with their eggs, evidently, according to the grocery stores.
That was the interesting thing. So, all of a sudden we'd go into the store and, everything else was available, but eggs all of a sudden were just completely scarce. Yes. And we had bowls of eggs, like 5-gallon bowls full of eggs that we had more than we could do it. So we gave a lot of them away.
So how can our audience reach you?
So if they go to our website, dnacinema.com, they'll find our contact information, some demo work, and telephone numbers so they can reach us that way.
Wonderful. It was a pleasure to have you back again.
Always a pleasure to be back.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for joining us. And we'll be right back right after this commercial break.
Today's episode of Desertwood Days with Kathy Blaze was sponsored by Dork Publishing. Visit them at dorkpublishing.com.